Hey
Okay.
James, what do we do today?
All right. Okay. So let's see. Maybe we can make a diagram here. So I'll just make like an ASCII diagram. So the way that normal network works in Kube is you have, so this is our SIG Windows Dev Tools kind of pairing session that me and Friedrich are doing. We normally like would have an IP range like this, 1.2.3. Baby J, say hi, YouTube. 1.2.4 and say 10.1.2.5, right? And so these are all, like I have these three nodes and they have these IP addresses, okay? And so when they, and this is like, now when we do in VirtualBox, normal. Now in VirtualBox or in other types of, maybe different types of more complicated networks, in VirtualBox you have something like this, okay? You have node 1 and node has 10.1.2.5. That's one IP, but it also has 10.0.1.96, right? And then node 2 and then node 2 and node 3 also have these, right? So this has dot 4 and then this is dot 3. So the problem here is that like so then the question is why 10.0.1.96, right? And the reason why these nodes have this extra IP address is that so that you can reach the internet, right? Because like say because you'll have your router, right? And you have your like you have your router and your router goes to your laptop and then your laptop has VMs inside of it, right? So what your laptop does is it makes like a synthetic 1.96 IP address, and then your VM, which lives on 10.1.2.5, which is a secret network that your laptop makes that nobody else knows about. When your VM needs to go to the outside world, its outside facing address is 10.0.1.96. Okay. So all your VMs, they have to go through the same interface in order to reach the outside world, because the outside world, your router has no idea how to route to these internal virtual box private IP addresses, right? So if you look in our Windows Dev Tools, oh my God, Friedrich, why is it not those? There it is. Okay. So if you look in our Windows Dev Tools here, baby J, come here, I'll show you something. See this? Private network. See this private network here, right? 10.20.30.10. Okay. Now, if we look on our network, right? IP config on my Mac. How do I do it? How do I get my IP address? Oh yeah. So if I do this IP config here, wow, I have a lot of. Okay, you see this IP address? I don't know what all this stuff is. Oh, I think that's because I'm running Docker and it's got all these. So you see this 10.20.30.1?
Mhm.
That is like that is the virtual box, like that's like a virtual box, the first IP that virtual box is making in this private IP address range. Okay. So it's making a 10.20.30.1. And then if I look in, and then if I run IP, if I go to source cd SIG Windows Dev Tools here, Vagrant status. What is it doing? Okay, so they're right here, right? So if I go into Vagrant SSH control plane, right? And I do IPA, then you'll see, oh, sorry, I meant 10.0.2.15, right? That's what I meant here, 10.0.2.15. Okay. If I have these two IP, so this one machine in here has two IP addresses. It has this one, ETH1, and it has ETH2, right? So it makes sense so far, Friedrich?
Yes.
How many IP addresses does this machine have, Baby J?
15.
No, 2.
2?
ETH0 and ETH1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, so you've got these 2 IP addresses, right? And then, okay, so these 2 IP addresses, if you look in the Antria code path, okay, so now if I go into Antria and I go back here, right, and I go to, yeah, so if I go node config, here it is. Okay, so if I go to Antria here and I go to Antria Windows. Where did it go? Antria Windows. Now, if I go into, you don't have to understand any of this in order to do this. I'm showing it to you so you understand the broader context so that you know what kind of questions to ask. You know what I mean? So if I go here, oh, well, they fixed the bug, so I can't find it anymore. But so if you look at the last commit 19 days ago, see this when they fixed this issue, right? So now if you look in here, okay, if you look at this commit, okay, right? If you look at this commit, okay, then what you'll see is they went in here and the name of the interface on node which is used for tunneling or routing the traffic across nodes. If there are multiple IP addresses configured on the interface, the first one is used. The interface configured with node IP is used if this parameter is not set. So what it used to do, what the code used to do, if you look in here, you'll see that they deleted some stuff. Let me show you where they deleted the logic they deleted. They used to have this logic in here where what they did was they looked at the it says 000. Entry CNI works by using the node IP address and then tries to use a specific device to pick the gateway. The default gateway is the uplink for OVS. However, it looks like it wants that device to have a destination prefix of 0000. So what it used to do, 0.0.0.0. It used to be that there was some logic in here that would enter agent windows.go. It would look in this IP address, get IP net device from, and then it would get the network device from the IP address. Does this make sense so far? I know this is kind of weird. Let me know if this isn't making sense.
It makes sense. I just accept that it is like this.
Okay, so like this is the network device.
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's an equivalent in Windows, right? Like if we do the same thing in Windows, you'll see the same thing, right? Like you just do ipconfig and you'll see. So every IP address here has like a network device. So what Antria would do is it would like look for the node IP, and then it would try to find the IP address associated with that node IP. Okay. And then it would, but then it turns out that in VirtualBox, like get default gateway by interface. So then it would try to get the default gateway, and then it would set. So the default gateway is like the thing when your router doesn't, I think, I'm not super good at networking either, but like I think what happens is when your router doesn't know where something is, it sends it through the default gateway. So like if you you have your cell phone and and your cell phone tries to access your laptop's IP on your home router, it doesn't go through the default gateway because your router is L2 connected to both of those. So like you go to your router and your router says, oh, he's trying to go to 10.1.2.3. I don't need to go through the default gateway to get that. I have a Ethernet device plugged into me that corresponds to that IP address. But if you try to go to google.com and that's on some other, 135.1.2.3, it's going to say, that's not on my network. I'm not L2 connected to that network, in other words. So I need to go layer 3. I need to go at the IP level, and I need to send this out as an IP packet to some other place. And that some other place is the default gateway, right? So like you literally have a router and it's like, where is our stupid issue? Here it is. It's like you literally have like a router and like here's your router, right? And your router has a so your router, it's like this, right? So your laptop goes out to the router. So if it's like, so in this diagram, like my VM wants to go to google.com, then it'll send it to this 10.0.1.96 IP address. And then the laptop and then that'll sort of be connected to the router. And then the router will send that traffic to the internet. So VirtualBox does this. And the reason VirtualBox does this is if VirtualBox didn't create this 10.0.1.96 interface and plug it into our VM, then we would not be able to access the internet. So we wouldn't be able to download NuGet. We wouldn't be able to curl down the kubelet binaries and all the other stuff we need to do to install these VMs. So we need this default interface to get to the internet. So now the question winds up being like, well, why does this not work with Antria? So the reason it doesn't work with Antria, and I think it also doesn't work with Calico right now, is that like before this patch, Antria had some code. Let's see what code they deleted here. I know they deleted some code, but it's like I can't see it. Now I'm getting confused. Maybe this is it. Yeah, this was the one I was complaining about, right? So get IP net device from IP. See how they've replaced this? So let's see how they replaced it. So what this is doing, get IP net device from IP, is it's going in here and it's saying this is the node IP. And remember how there's that node IP that we're setting, or I think we're setting it now, or a meme has a PR to set it, where in kubeadm, when it comes up, we give it the kubectl get nodes -o wide. Oh God, we're still doing this. So this is wrong, right? Like these things should have correct IP addresses. And I think a meme said that, but I'm not sure.
I think he fixed it, and I think you run on a older version or something.
Okay, yeah. So that's one thing to do is like verify that he's fixed that, right? So in addition to verifying that he's fixed that, and like that's another issue we can just create right now. Like for example, like did he merge that PR?
Yes,
He did.
I think.
When?
Oh no, or is it? Maybe I get confused. Maybe it is in the setting up proxy. I think he.
Yeah. So I
It's
think
not there.
okay, so I think one
we-
thing to do, yeah. So I think to do, like I'll add another to do here is that like to do figure out if a meme fixed this, right? We need to figure out if he fixed that, right? Because this until we fix this, we we are useless, right? Like this is so stupid, right?
I'm rather sure he did.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't see when he did. I don't see a commit. The last commit was me updating the smoke test. This is SSH. So I don't see it.
Okay, maybe then not. Maybe it is in the other pull request.
Yeah. So yeah. So for folks watching on YouTube, me and Friedrich are kind of just like figuring out what issues are on the SIG Windows DevTools thing and what we can do to keep it moving forward on some stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so I would say, track that down, ping him and figure out whether he fixed it. If he did fix it, then test that he's got, these IPs fixed. And if not, then, let's get that fix in. And the fix to that is to go into the code base and to go into the, I think it's, where do we do this? It's in, where do we install all this stuff? I don't even remember anymore. I keep forgetting. Is it container D1 or container D2? What is it? Somewhere in here, we have some code that like bootstraps.
I will remove all the container D scripts into the image into Packer.
Oh yeah.
I hope.
Cool.
I hope.
You think you're okay? By the way, I was going to mention VMware Workstation.
Mm-hmm.
That should work on Ubuntu.
So the problem is at least a free tier of VMware Workstation is consolidated into VMware Player or whatever it is called. So if you want to download any of this, you get basically you get into the download section, but the final file that you download is always the same. I was a little confused first, and it looks like they removed some of the binaries that are necessary. I send it to you. Some of the binaries that are used by Packer are not any longer included. And I thought, so there's a tool called VMware installer, and I thought I could manually. I thought it's a download and install some missing binary tool. And I tried to do that, but it could not find any of the packages that I was looking for.
So okay, so let's write that up. Whatever you just said, write it up in an issue, right? So I'm not going to do that. You make the issue, but I didn't even understand any of the stuff you just said. But like, make sure and write that up so that so we can get your dev stats up. Here we go. So to do, write up whatever that whole VMware Workstation issue.
Yeah, I have a tendency of sticking to myself until I get until I get some results, and if I don't get a result, you will never hear that I worked on anything.
Oh no, yeah, we need to get all these issues, because see, here's the thing. We've got 33 of these issues, so we should just, when we're working on something, make an issue and say we're working on it, right? Because worst case scenario, somebody else picks it up later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all these issues, Friedrich, and we should just, I think something really good to do would just be to go through these, start closing and stuff.
Clean.
Like just clean house, man. Close issues.
I think some of the issues are even redundant. Some of them point to each other. Or not point to each other, should point to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good I think that's a good week or a few days of work is just go through these one by one, make sure you understand them, ask questions if you don't understand them on the issue, and ping in Sig Windows, Slack, or whatever, and that'll help get you some momentum going again. And that's easy work, but it needs to be done. You know what I mean? And it'll be fun, I think. So there's that, and then so it'll be interesting to see. What I want to see with VMware Workstation is it possible to create VMs in VMware? And I think basically, actually, I will file this issue because I think that you've kind of done some initial research into this. So you. Just write whatever you learn in here. Maybe if you have a blog post about it, you want to make a blog post about it or something. And then, the other thing, Friedrich, we can do is if we go in here, we probably have some README updates we can do, right? Actually, README is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, a meme again.
Oh, a meme updated it? Okay.
I think
Yeah.
he did some changes and then updated the README.
Okay. All right, cool. So there's all that, but so now let's get back to the tech here and look at this. So prepare HNS network. So we used to make this HNS network, and that had 4 arguments: subnet CIDR, node config, and adapter. Now we have subnet CIDR, node config, node transport IP address. It used to be node IP address, and now it's node transport IP address. Right? So I think this would be an interesting thing to look into, Friedrich. Like, just try to see if you can figure out what changed there, right? So like maybe we could start like so if you look here, they have this new field they've added. There used to be this node IP address. This was the node IP used in Kubernetes. So now we do the IP on the node's transport interface. It is used for tunneling or routing pod traffic across nodes. So this I don't understand this at all. Like, I'm totally confused. Maybe part of the thing that helped you here is knowing that I have no idea what any of this stuff does either. Like, I'm totally lost. So this is node IP address. The only difference here is that they're using their node I used to be local address. And then they replaced that with this node IP address. That seems to be like the fundamental change in this PR. And they were getting this from this IP address, and this was from this get node adder. So then if I go into grep.app and I look at get node adder, what is that? So if I look at this function, right? Get node address gets available IP address of a node. Get node address will try to get the first node internal IP, then try to get the node external IP. The node might have multiple IP addresses after this issue is fixed and one per address family. I don't understand that part, but it's probably enough to just say it gets the available IP address of a node. So it has some special logic. And what I look for when I see something like this, here's a good hint. You see this, Friedrich?
Mm-hmm.
This means somebody's talking to the Kubernetes API here. The minute that you see them importing K8's API core v1, it's a good chance like, okay, they're doing something with the API. So what are they doing? But actually, they're not actually making a call to the API server. They're just reusing the data structures in the Kubernetes API. And so one of the data structures in the Kubernetes API is the node data structure. So if you go to types.go, Kubernetes, you can see all.
Okay.
What? Yeah, here.
No,
yeah, if you go here, right, type node, grep.app, type node, struct. Right, like if I go here, see this package APIs core types.go, type node. Okay, so if I look in here, you could see that there's a node, and a node has a spec and a status, right? And I can see that because I can do kubectl get nodes -o YAML, and I could see here that it has a spec and it has a status, right? And if I look in the status, I can see this address. See addresses.address. It's 10.0.2.15, right? That's not the address I wanted to have, but that's the address it got. And the way it got this address, to look, if we look, we can maybe grep for it, right? So I can sudo su grep-r 10.0.2.15. Okay, it's not in there. Check in var. Where the hell is this coming from? Let's see. Nope, it's not in there. So let's see if we can, where else would it be? User? Let's just grep / see if we can find it. There's some file in here that has this stupid IP hard-coded. We just don't know what it is. And if we don't find a file that has this IP hard-coded, then it must be that when the kubelet is coming up, it's making some kind of, oh, look at this. Detected node IP. What is that? Varlib Docker containers. I wonder if it's like when the kubelet starts. So let's look at see if we go to cd etc find /grep kubelet. So I'm looking for the, so okay, here's the kubelet configuration, right? So this is saying that my API server is 10.20.30.10, and that makes sense because that's, we hard code that as the private IP of the API server, right? When we do kubeadm join. But then there's this kubeadm conf. So what if we go in here and see how that works? Now, if we do journal ctl-f-u kubelet, what do we see there?
What is journal CTL?
Oh, that's, it's the logging things. That's where all your logs are. So this just has all the system logs as they're rolling out. You very rarely have to use it. Like you use it for like I could use it to see what's going on with container D. Right. There's a problem. But yeah. So the only thing you need to use it for is kubelet, because everything else is running in a container. So you can just do kubectl logs, right? But there's just nothing. I don't see anything here. So like my question really winds up being like, where is this 10.0.2.15 IP address coming from, right? Like, so kubelet.conf. So it's not in here. So where does it come from? So then let's go over here. Where does kubelet internal? Each node has an IP address assigned from the. Okay. So then this dude wrote a whole blog post. Oh, and look, this guy has the exact same problem we have. Look at that, right? So, okay, so he edited the node and that failed. And that makes sense because you could try that.
This is what I mean, that I think this is the blog post that I mean used.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't see it in the code. So where is it?
He did it manually.
Oh, but I mean, if he did it manually, that doesn't really mean anything, right? Like we needed we needed it here. So I think, Friedrich, I'm thinking the best thing to do is you should just make a small PR that does this.
I think this is what Amim already did. It's just not merged into the project. I think this is what
well, I mean. I think you should just do one and merge it, and then if he has one, he can rebase his stuff on top of yours, right? I mean, unless because I don't see a pull request from him right now, right? I see this setting up.
But I think it's in there.
It's in here.
I'm not sure.
All right, cool. So it is in here.
Yeah.
So I think this is the first thing you're going to want to do is just, I think we should merge this, right? So you should probably pull this down and test it, right? So let's go here. Where is it? Issues. Check if works. I'm not sure that this fixes everything, but it'll be interesting to see if it does. So the real interesting thing to see is if once this works, we can do kubectl logs on a Windows container. But anyway, so yeah, so it's real weird though, because it's like, so he adds this node IP into this service. So let's see, can we do that? I don't see it. Oh yeah. Okay, so he adds it here. So see this exec start? So I guess he literally is adding the node IP in there, which is interesting. I'm surprised you can't do that through kubeadm. Like, so he's literally just bimming that file or something. I don't know. Well, whatever it is, he did it there. So that's probably worth.
That's one of the things where I started working on it, and then.
And you're like, yeah, this is too weird. Yeah.
And then I was, oh, I see. I think I know how to do it, and then Amim already did it.
Yeah. He's fast. He's just okay. So, all right. So then there's that. So I think then this VMware Workstation, but you're saying VMware Workstation doesn't have like a trial issue, a trial thing, huh?
Yeah, I did not try that. Usually, look it up.
Let's check. Yeah, so like did you try to download this?
No.
Try to
I tried.
download that.
They
Yeah.
have a free version, and I used that.
Let me see if this.
Like a community edition or something like that. That's what I tried.
This is really weird. It's like, oh yeah, see they have a 30-day trial. So if we can get it working on the 30-day trial, that's probably a good enough start. And then I can talk internally here at VMware, since this is an open source project, about just getting you a free license.
Awesome.
So
I was about to ask for that, but I wanted to get it working first before I ask for free stuff.
No, I think we can get you a free license, no problem. I just have to talk to some people and make sure it's clear that you're working on an open source project. So I think okay, so I think we've gone over a few different things. So I want to make sure. Okay, so I think we've got a few areas to like go forward for your thing. One is clean the issues, right? Go through there and just start cleaning our backlog. If something's not relevant anymore, get rid of it. If it is, and make sure you're commenting on the issues, because that's how you get your dev stats up. Make sure that you're like leaving that stuff counts as commits, right? Like closing an issue, commenting on an issue, right? Get all that stuff out there, and then let's close as many of these issues as we can, consolidate issues, and then if there's some issues that we think we fixed them, let's just close them. And I think that's super, super important work to do, right? And it'll unstick you while Friedrich goes and tests this other stuff. The other thing is Sonobui, right?
Oh, that is completely off my radar.
Moment. So you can try to run the Sonobui Windows. There's a Sonobui Windows thing. Okay, and here it is. Actually, we have this issue. It was opened by Sladen, and it looks like they added this. So you can try to see if you can actually get the Sonobui tests to run, right? And see how far they get. And then you can CC. And so the Sonobui has a Slack channel. Sonobui Slack channel in K8s. So in upstream Kubernetes, the Sonobui has a Slack channel, right? So I think we've got that. So we've got a few concrete issues. So I'm going to write these down too. So you've got try to get Sonobui tests working. Even if they fail, that's totally fine, right? Try to get the Sonobui tests working. And then you've got cleaning the backlog. And then you've got test memes PR. And then you've got porting to VMware Workstation with the trial license. So I think those four, even if you get blocked on one of them, you could probably pick up the other ones. You could probably jump around on those. And the
Packer, working with Packer. Usually you start your Packer and then you have to wait 2 hours or something to get a result.
Yeah.
So that is a really good thing to parallelize, to do parallel.
Yeah, this is like, it's like the end of that. It's like the fucking, remember, I forgot we're streaming live. So it's like that. Do you remember, and it's such a stupid nerd thing to say, but I can't think of a better analogy. Like, do you remember in the end of Return of the Jedi, and Lando is waiting for them to blow up that shield generator on that planet, right? And he's just flying around in circles like an idiot, and he's like trying to he's trying to attack those big triangle ships. What are those things called? What are they? What are they called, Friedrich?
Delta something or so. Yeah, the Delta of, oh, I forgot.
He's trying to.
It's funny because you're also wearing a Star Wars T-shirt.
Yeah, like that's what you're doing right now, right? You're just you're just flying around and you're shooting at a bunch of ships that you're not going to be able to blow up. But that's okay because you gotta keep flying around in circles until he had to blow up the shield generator. That was the whole thing.
And by the way, yeah.
So you're just waiting for a meme to blow up the shield generator. That means a meme is he's getting the CNI fixed. We have these fundamental CNI problems, right? That are making it impossible for us to do Sonobui, impossible for us to have any kind of CI, impossible for us to do anything that's kind of easy work that would be valuable, right? But there's one other, which is GitHub Actions, right? You could actually add some linting and stuff. Oh my God, this would be huge, Friedrich. Linting and CI in GitHub Actions, right? Because when we submit a Vagrant file, you can probably just run a basic Vagrant status and confirm the Vagrant file isn't completely broken, right? Some people have said that actually they're going to remove all dev stats from projects in Kubernetes SIGs that don't have CI. So have you ever seen GitHub Actions before?
No.
Okay.
It's the very first time that I hear about it.
Just Google it. It'll be obvious as soon as you do it. GitHub Actions. It's just a way where you commit a YAML file and the YAML file runs a few checks and then adds those little GitHub badges. You know those little badges when you do a commit, right? That's another one. So I'll make an issue for that. GitHub Actions, Vagrant, file lint, maybe try VBox, install and up. I doubt that would ever work with this, but see how far it gets. Maybe something will work. And then that's probably good enough, right? If you can get those two things to work. So that also, then we'll tie up all these loose ends, and then once he gets the Calico stuff working, then at that point you can start to experiment with we can really start to look at the Sonobui tests and seeing what tests fail and what tests pass and so on and so forth, right? And digging into those, and we can start using trying different things that are like more meaningful, like for example, mounting a storage volume into a pod, right? Like we can have a test that does that, right? One other thing actually that's a really good thing to test, Friedrich, that will be really super valuable is add recipe to install CSI proxy agent on Windows Node. This you can proceed with this totally unblocked. So CSI proxy there's a really good talk on it, and it's on YouTube. So this is a talk on the CSI proxy, right? So you can watch this, right? And it'll give you a full understanding of what the idea of a Windows privileged container is and why you need CSI proxy, because CSI proxy allows you to mount. It essentially allows you to do the same thing that Rancher Wins does, allows you to run a process, and then that process runs privileged access actions on the host, but you can launch and control that process from a container, right? And so this might be a good blog post actually, comparing these two, right? And add README this would be a really cool project that you'll learn a lot and you'll be totally like, it'll be super relevant and you'll learn a ton. And
Oh,
I
this
mean,
is so helpful because I was a little floating around, not knowing what to
Yeah.
do at the moment.
yeah, so this is actually, if you're looking for something really technical to dive into, this is a really awesome one. It's and write a good blog post up about what you learned while you're doing it and update this issue. I think that's a really good one. So yeah, that's CSI proxy. So I've got 6 things here that could be fun projects to like hack on.
One fundamental question about the Packer project, the trying to build our own Windows image, is how do we integrate it into the repository? At the moment, I have just my own repository. I basically forked what Stefan Scherer did and hack on it, and I don't know how to. I can leave it there.
Sorry,
I don't know what to do.
So you have a forked what?
At the moment, we use for the Windows image or Windows Vagrant box. We use this thing from Stefan Scherer, and it is actually on GitHub. So I just forked it and tried to hack into it. I just wonder how if we want to integrate this into our repository.
So we do, and that is a whole nother project called Image Builder. And so what we would want to do is we'd want to run Image Builder. So we can go to Image Builder here. Okay. Kubernetes 6 Image Builder. And then Perry would be so happy if you did this. So if you go to V1, packet, no, where is it? Images, Cappy, and then we go into Ansible, and then we go into Windows. So if you go to Ansible, I think Cappy, there's a make file here, right? So if you go into here, we actually need an issue for this. Oh my God, we have so many issues here. Yeah, actually we have an issue for this, right? So, and actually I've written this all up here. So, this is another great thing to own, right? So if you can go into Cappy and you could just run make, and actually I explained some of this in TGIK, you could watch this episode, right? And so, yeah, Image Builder. If you can get that to run, that will create an OVA. And then if you can figure out how to have that OVA create a Vagrant box, then we will never have to do that stupid NuGet install, container deinstall, all that stuff from the internet. And we could bake all this into an image. And then we can bootstrap our entire Windows node directly from a OVA, and we won't have to access the internet anymore. And that will solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
I think it would be probably about 2 weeks to make any progress on that. 1 week of just banging your head away at Image Builder, and another week of getting that OVA to mount inside Vagrant. And then I think that would be a huge, huge win. Probably of all the things we've talked about, that would by far be the most valuable.
Oh, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, but it's just it's thorny, right? Like you're going to have to hack across different repos and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's up to you, man. I think you've been really banging your head on some really deep problems that are tricky. If I was you, I think the best thing to do is to just go through the issues, comb them, clean them, spend a day or two doing that. Just get some stuff, get some simple work done so that you don't feel like you're not making any progress, and then go back in for another deep one after that. That's what I would do, I think, if I was you.
The most important for me is to get out of Amin's way.
Any of these issues, you're out of Amim's way. Any of these. Right? You're right. Like when Amim is doing stuff, I have to do the same thing. You got to stay out of his way because he's Calico. So stay away from Calico, but he's not touching Image Builder, right? Okay. And he's not touching CSI proxy. So those are the two. The two deep issues are CSI proxy and Image Builder, and then that you can dig into, and then I don't even know why we're streaming at this point. So those are the two deep